Well, good evening, everyone. Good evening. Welcome back. I've had a week off. I went to camp and I were in no mood to really do a stream last Tuesday. But I'm back and we've got the awesome Pat McGinnis in the house. Yes. Big cheer. I'll have to get some clapping.
Hey, Pat is back. Pat is back. Pat is back.
We've also got Marcus Glenn joining us. Yes, Marcus.
Power to the people.
Of course, the mighty Paul Rimmer. I just want to say, before we start, I just want to say to everyone, put in your thoughts, Mike Lane, a great friend of Paul's. I met Mike several times and I thought he was a great guy. Even when he was poorly, he was still demoing and speaking. Am I not correct, Paul?
Yeah, Mike's formidable.
And we know he's poorly, and I just want to give everyone to give him his best and just put a thought in for him. Obviously, put a big thought in for Mama Pat. Her funeral's on 22nd. We're having a service and a wake afterwards. But, you know, it was like my dad. My dad had achieved a lot in his life, and I said that at the speech, and it's the same with my mum. And I mean, we talk about issues of the day. We talk about issues with social services and kids in care and all that. And when we were younger, my mum took a child in so that child wouldn't go into the care system because she knew what the care system was like. And that was my mum. That was when I was just a little kid and I didn't know nothing. But great thoughts for all these great people tonight. But anyway, let's get to it. It's election day in America. The lefties are going absolutely mad. They're ramping up the rhetoric against Trump, lying about everything he says on TikTok. He's a convicted rapist or whatever. He isn't. If you look into it, he isn't. It was a civil case and he hasn't been found guilty criminally of anything. I just hate how the media have treated Donald Trump and how the left have treated him. And that's what winds me up more than anything. And I said this last time, but that's what winds me up more than anything. But over to you, Paul.
The legacy media have tried to destroy Trump from the moment he came down that escalator in 2015. And he survived like constant warfare. They talk about lawfare. Norm Eisen and all these very clever Jewish lawyers got attacking him constantly, charging him with everything under the book. All these contrived charges. They tried to bankrupt Trump. They got corrupt judges to find him guilty. What happened in New York was totally unprecedented. He was charged with a non-crime and then fined hundreds of millions of dollars. It was just crazy. But they thought they could destroy Trump. They control the system. But Trump refused to buckle. That man has got one heck of a backbone. It's beyond any normal human being. I mean, this guy, when they stole the election from him in 2020, I thought to myself, that's the end of Trump. He's 74. He's an old man. They've got the full weight of the state now against him, the full weight of the legacy media, the full weight of every state institution. You know, the whole American state was arrayed against Trump. And I thought, how can he withstand that pressure? How can he come back from that? And now he's on the verge of returning to the White House. I believe we're witnessing a miracle here. It's a modern miracle. And it isn't complete yet, and we don't know what the result will be. The result is not clear-cut. I mean, they're going to try and drag the results out as long as they can so they can bring in more fake ballots and try and manipulate the results. But I think this time it may just be too big to rig, and Donald will get over the line. Pat, any thoughts?
Yes, it's an amazing day in history. It's going to be tomorrow because we won't get the proper result until at least tomorrow. Because some areas of the United States we're about 7 hours behind. So, well, I remember last time. Let's have it right. Last time when I went to bed, they said it was a Donald Trump landslide victory, and then when I woke up in the morning, they said, "Oh, he's lost." I couldn't believe it, and I really wanted him to win last time. This time, I'm a bit more skeptical. I mean, obviously, I've got a choice out of the Democrats or Trump. I want Trump to win, but we need to analyse his first term. And he promised he was going to build the wall. Didn't build the wall. The illegal immigration apparently got worse under him, and deportations were lower than Obama. This is coming from Nick Fuentes. He's done a video on it. And also the killing of Soleimani, the Iranian general. I knew straight away that was a big mistake. He did that. He did that for Israel, and in my opinion, he put the lives of millions of American soldiers at risk, because that could have sparked a direct war with Iran. So he killed this Iranian general, and he kept boasting about it. And now, the situation in the Middle East now, it looks like Israel are going to lose. And now all of a sudden, Donald Trump is saying he wants to go to Tehran and talk about peace, which is going to infuriate the Israelis. But the Iranians are not going to let him do it now, because he killed their top general. Their top general was responsible for defeating ISIS in Iraq and Syria. And this is a major thing, a major mistake of his in his previous presidency, in my opinion, because otherwise they may have allowed him to come to Tehran and do a peace deal. Because I think Trump's realised now Israel is in serious trouble. They couldn't invade Lebanon. They had 46 tanks taken out. Hundreds of Israeli troops have been killed. They've pulled straight back to the border. They couldn't go in. They were too scared to go into Iran and bomb all their significant military sites. And Israel is on shaky ground now. And I think Trump's realised that. That's why he's done a big U-turn. And when he did the U-turn, all the polls started going against him again. He was way out in the front. So, generally, I want him to win. But we need to understand that, Trump's only got 4 years if he wins, right? So who's going to be put in place after Trump? It's just going to be another Republican clone, another Democrat clone, a globalist. Trump had a real chance to save America, in my opinion, back in his first term, when he could have started his own party. He should have started his own party, and maybe he's going to do it. Who knows? Who knows what he's going to do? But if he does win, we will really see what he is all about, because he hasn't got a chance of getting re-elected, and he could do some pretty amazing things against the grain, because he's got 4 years. He's the president, and like I said, he can't get elected again. That's it. He's only got 4 years. So another significant change I've been told is Inner Circle used to be run by Jared Kushner, but now it's being run by his older son. One of his elder sons. So I haven't really been taking much notice of the election, because I don't know. I was just fed up with Donald Trump supporting Israel too much. And at the end of the day, if Trump wants to save America, he has to stop permanent settlement immigration. And he says the opposite. He says, we need legal immigration, just like Farage. So let's wait and see what happens. At the end of the day, I did love it when Trump attacks the media, and let's see what happens. And it's going to be interesting. It could be a civil war tomorrow. Whoever wins, there's going to be major trouble on the streets, I believe. Yeah. And let's just hope Trump wins. But over to you, Marcus.
So I think all three of you fellas could agree with me. If Trump wins tomorrow, I can't wait to see the lefty meltdown. I think there'll be a lot of compilations. Yep, definitely. With Trump, I would just echo what Pat just said. I want him to win. Do I think he's one of our guys? Not exactly. Do I wish he was a bit more like me, where I don't support Palestine or Israel? I just say Britain first. That's all I care about. I don't get involved in all that personally myself. I'm for fighting for my own country, but is he definitely better than the Democrats? Absolutely. And he's been able to create a Christian wholesome movement, and that's something that we can't take away from Trump. Whether he does exactly what we would like is a different thing. What I would say is, after this, he really has to do something this term. because obviously, like Pat just said, he only has 4 years. You can only be president 2 times, I believe. Am I right by that? I think so. Right. So he really needs to pull the cat out of the bag. He definitely needs to get the wall built and show Americans that even after a Trump presidency, that the Republican movement, the MAGA movement, is still worth voting for inside the United States. Maybe he needs to, be thinking about who should take after him after the next election, because obviously if he gets in this time, then he's going to have to find someone younger, someone who can kind of take the movement on and lead it to victory. I mean, what to say about Trump? He's survived so many assassination attempts. There's no one like him at this moment in time who can face all the backlash from the media, all the attacks that he gets, the smears. And obviously, I don't think I can comment on cases to do with the past. I don't know if they're still live, so I'm a bit worried about doing that. But it's pretty convenient. They've tried to throw lawfare after lawfare at him, and he's still going strong. So I think we're in for a Trump presidency, and I look forward to it. What about you, John?
Well. I mean, the only way I look at it, mate, is people are voting different, and people are just getting elected, and people are running in elections. I say it in England, and it's the same in America. That many people hate him, then it's got to be good for the free world somewhere down the line, and that's what we need. We just need to get out of that rut of they're just doing for the same people and stuff like that. And I found out that in US presidential elections before, and they don't tell you this, but there has been a couple of independent candidates who've got millions of votes. I don't just mean 3 million, I mean like 20 million. But you don't see this. So there's always a threat to these big groups, Labour and Tories. There's always a threat to them off other people. And I'm just glad that Donald Trump is running. If we didn't have that kind of person that everyone hated that much running now, I could just only think of the disaster when Kamala, she says she's black, Harris gets in. You know what I mean? I can just see it coming. But no, carry on, Paul. I'm sorry, I'm a bit busy in everything.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I'm really ebullient about the potential for a Trump victory, because I've followed this campaign assiduously on X, on Elon Musk platform. So I've excluded the rest of the media, because I know the rest of the media, the legacy media, has been at war with Trump from the beginning. So they may, if they lose this, if Trump wins, it makes them irrelevant. It shows their power has gone. He's pulled the plug on the legacy media, and this would open the field for real free speech. I mean, Joe Rogan's just backed Trump, and he's been part of this destruction of the legacy media. But Elon Musk, by allowing free speech on X, has opened up opinion in America. He's opened up the expression of people's political, thoughts. People are no longer intimidated. And this has been fantastic. I mean, and I've been watching all the Trump rallies. It's not about Trump really as an individual. Trump has created the MAGA movement. Trump, don't forget, was not a Republican. He was a Democrat, and then he was in that Ross Perot party. What was that called? The People's Party or something? Remember Ross Perot? Yeah, so he was outside and made sure he come in, didn't he? To the Republican establishment did everything they could, the Jeb Bushes of this world, to keep him outside. But he built up a base within the Republican Party, and now he's totally taken over the Republican Party. The Republican Party used to be known as the Country Club Party. It was the sort of rich, established families of America that controlled it. And they allowed this open-door immigration. I think Trump did all he could to build that wall, and I think he was obstructed at every turn. Don't forget, Trump wasn't a politician. He went into Washington, and he was a bit naive because he didn't realize that the whole state machine would be used against the president. not to actually facilitate what he wanted, but to stop him doing anything. This time, he goes to Washington, D.C. with his eyes wide open. And he's got the people behind him, Elon Musk, Ron Paul, Joe Rogan, J.D. Vance. Now, he's a significant figure. He's going to inherit the Trump legacy. J.D. Vance and his family are really involved now, Donald Trump Jr. and Eric and so on. They know what they're facing in Washington, D.C., and they're already committed to reduce the federal state in America by 80%. This is what Elon Musk is saying. He said it's just a proliferation of waste and bureaucracy in the federal level, and it's unnecessary, and it's putting a big tax burden on America. The Washington bureaucracy has been running America in its interests. It's counter-democratic, but America still has that spirit of democracy. This is where they've got an edge over us. In Britain and in Europe, the spirit of democracy is being crushed constantly by the EU, by the bureaucrats who are controlling all policies, the deep state. But in America, the people, it belongs to the people, because America was created by the people in the 1774 revolution, the American Revolution. It has this legacy of true democracy, that the people's voice counts. And so we've seen a real contest here between Donald Trump, a patriot, someone who believes in freedom, someone who believes in democracy, someone who believes in Christian morality, against Kamala Harris, who's no more than a puppet of the globalist Zionist elite. She's controlled. She's a deadhead. She's got nothing to say. She's fake. She just ticks boxes. She's not even a real politician. She's never been elected by anybody. Don't forget, the Democrats never voted for Kamala Harris. She was appointed after a coup against Joe Biden. Joe Biden had already been selected by the Democrat base to be their presidential candidate. So Kamala Harris, she hasn't got love from the base because she wasn't elected by the base. They don't identify with her. Now, she got $1 billion of big money behind her for this campaign. She has just saturated the American television networks, the legacy media, with advertising. All the legacy media pundits are being bought, and they're just mouthing their cliches. They're just constantly attacking Trump. If Trump wins, this is an incredible defeat for the old establishment in America. It's an assertion of populism. And this is really important. Populism is the people's voice. They don't want the people to have a voice. They've turned democracy into an elitist game, which is about controlling people and promoting minority groups. This is what Kamala Harris tries to do. She tries to set every group against each other. So she set women against men on this issue of abortion, which is horrendous. She's setting like gays against straights, transsexuals against normal people, black against white. She's playing the identity card. She's playing the race card. She's playing the gender card. Every trick they've got in the book, the Democrats, to divide us and set us against each other, she's playing that. This is an anti-democratic palette she's playing. But Trump is counteracting that by calling the people. He's reached out. One of the reasons why Trump will probably win this election is that black American men now like him, and his vote amongst them is going to reach 25%. That's bigger than it's ever been for the Republican Party, because normally it's 95% of black women vote Democrat, 90% of black men. But there's a big core now. Black men are saying, look, we reject the Democrat agenda. It's anti-masculine, it's anti-Christian, it's anti-morality. And they're turning to Trump, and they've been there in his rallies, they're there in his base, they're there in his opinion polls, and they will make the difference. They will make the difference in these key states. But the really big Achilles heel for Trump is that he has not won the female vote. The feminists now have a big grip of American women. Trump is 60-40 in the lead amongst men, 40-60 down amongst women. And in the last election, 1 million more women voted than men. So there's he's got to get mobilized as the manpower of America and vote for him. But in these key 7 states, he could win But, there's always the fact that the Democrats are ferocious cheaters and they will do everything they can to manipulate it. Pat?
Yeah, I mean, everyone must have seen that clip of one of the Kamala Harris rallies, and someone shouted out in the crowd, "Jesus Christ is King." And she, it was unbelievable. I could not believe it.
I thought that was you, Pat, when I first heard it. I thought Pat's in America.
And, she said, "Excuse me, I think you're in the wrong rally." And this is how anti-Christian they are. And, Trump is promoting Christianity. And like I said earlier, it's a big chance there's going to be widespread civil disturbances, whoever wins. And, the Christians have got to start uniting. And I don't want this to happen because there'd be a lot of bloodshed. But I fear that America could break up into lots of different little countries, especially in the middle. That's where this Christianity is the strongest. And but yeah, just want to say a few announcements quickly. Christmas is coming up. We got a Christmas social coming up in London, and it's a joint social between National Housing Party and the Populist Party. And please get in contact with us. It's on December the 7th. Contact John, myself, Paul for further details. It's a central London venue, and so looking forward to that. Also, to people in the chat, I've lost my phone, and anybody who's watching this, I've lost my phone and I've got a new number. So if you know my email address, you can email me or contact John or Paul. They've got my new number. And you can get in contact with me that way. But yeah, today is a massive day in the West, so to speak. And I mean, how old is Donald Trump? He's how old is he, Paul?
78, Pat. 78.
He's 78, and he's doing these rallies, like going around all around the country. I mean, I don't think I could even do that. I'm 53. It's incredible, his determination. He's so determined to come back and win, isn't he? And if he does, it will be a monumental moment for the world, I think. And I hope he does find peace with Iran and puts Israel in their place to stop going around massacring millions of people, basically thousands of people. And let's see if he can get peace, because he does believe in peace. He like, I was speaking to somebody about this earlier, and he doesn't want to see people killed. It's obvious. Donald Trump does not want to see people killed. The people who run the Democratic Party are, like you said, Paul, they're globalist Zionists. And the people behind the Democratic Party, they want war. They want death and destruction. They want to take over the world at any cost. And they know they're losing now. And, Trump ain't going to be told what to do. He might do a bit of bidding for him, but generally he's not controlled 100% by them, which is a good thing. And also he said about Ukraine, he wants to stop the war in Ukraine. And it's so very exciting to see tomorrow who's going to actually win it. I'm so excited. But yeah, that's about it from me on the Trump election. I mean, I wish we could get people galvanized here, because I think the turnout in America is going to be massive for this election. And I don't know, Paul, has it gone up, the figures, people coming out to vote and stuff?
It's going to be a huge turnout. There's no doubt about it. Marcus, how do you see? The thing is with the result, we'll know straight away through the exit polls and through states like Florida, which report very early, what momentum Trump has got. I believe Trump's going to be well in the lead. The problem is, and I'm going to ask you this, Marcus, can the Democrats cheat Trump again? I mean, I know in Pennsylvania and the Rust Belt states, they've said they're not going to announce the result for 3 days. They're going to take ballots after the election. But is it going to be too big to rig? That's the question. What do you think, Marcus?
I think because of such I can't speak today. With the high turnout, I think it's going to be very difficult to cheat this. I don't think they really dare because of what happened last time. I'm not saying I condone anything what happened in the Capitol, even if I think it's a bit of a fed up. Anyway, I don't think they would dare cheat it, but who knows with these people? They are satanic. They are Christian. They hate everything about Christianity. When it comes down to it, the American people have to make a choice. Now, has Trump ever started any wars? No. When Trump was in, it was the most peaceful time in America. It's always the people who are tied to the legacy media and the deep state, whoever you want to kind of believe who controls that. Everyone thinks differently with that. But I think the American people, what they need to look at is this. Has things got better under Biden? No, it hasn't. I've even got friends who were Democrats who are now switching over to Republican, who said that I've never voted for Trump before, and I'm going to be voting Trump this time, even though they voted Democrat all their life. And actually, through having conversations with them, I noticed that they're becoming more and more right-wing. They're becoming more patriotic. They love their country, and they've seen what the Democratic Party has done to the country. Now, Harris, or however you say her name, she's saying what she's against, but not what she's actually for. That's the problem I think she's playing it too safe. And I think Trump is coming out with these powerful speeches. He survived, attempts on his life, and he's telling the American people what they actually want, what they want to hear. They don't want more industrialization to the point where a lot of states are no longer going to have a coal industry, for example. So I think if they don't want to be anything like us, they need to vote Trump. That's all I would say on that.
Can I just, if Angie, if you're in the chat, Angie, can you just check TikTok for me, please, Angie, and just see if the stream's running all right on TikTok. Just testing at the moment. But this is world thing. This is world thing, and I think the thing is with Trump, he wants to, like you said, he wants peace. He's willing to go and talk to these people. When North Korea kicked off, he was the first person over saying to that Kim Jong, listen, I'm talking to you. And other people, other Americans wouldn't. They just step back and they just say nasty things about North Korea without dealing with it. And it's good to talk, guys. If we're going to be ignorant of each other and not talk to people, then we're never going to win. We're going to go down the wrong road. And I think that Trump will try to sort these issues out. And a lot of the things that he did when he was president, he would just stop by the left. He just wouldn't have any of it. You know what I mean?
Well, it wasn't only the left, John. It was also the neocons. This is when Pat was giving his introduction. In the first administration, the neocons, the Liz Cheneys, the Joe Boltons and all these people. Is it John? I think it is Joe Bolton. They had a big say in the Trump administration because Trump thought these people were on his side. Of course, they weren't. They were actually manipulating Trump to get their own agenda through. This time, there's been a complete transformation. Liz Cheney is backing Kamala Harris. Joe Bolton has spoken against Trump. The Bush family have refused to endorse Trump. And Trump has brought into his camp Bobby Kennedy, the son of Robert Kennedy, who was assassinated for opposing the globalist Zionist elite. And his father was, of course, as well, JFK, his brother. So Bobby Kennedy was a real scoop for Trump because he brings in millions of votes. He's like political royalty in America, I mean, the Kennedy family. And he's got great ideas, Bobby Kennedy, and he's going to challenge the establishment. Now, they tried to nobble him, and he's had to sort of back down on a bit of his anti-Zionist rhetoric. But we know what his heart is. His heart is he's a radical. He's got 70 years old. He's got a lifelong sort of history of radicalism, of opposing the wars and the elites, and he's right in the center of Trump's camp. And, of course, Elon Musk was a Democrat. He switched over to Trump, and he's the richest man in the world, and he controls the world's marketplace of ideas, which is X. So he's a great coup for Trump to get him on board. And, of course, Tulsi Gabbard, who's a great Democrat, who at one stage was on the verge of becoming the Democrat presidential candidate before Obama. She's now with Trump, and she's anti-war. She's anti this globalist agenda. They all know who's behind it. They all know who's pushing for wars, who's pushing war in the Ukraine, who's pushing for war in the Middle East, who's disturbing the peace of the world. They all know who's doing it, and they're prepared to take a stand against it. This is why they make such opposition. I mean, the scary thing is the likes of Mossad and the CIA and these deep state operatives are going to try and manipulate this election for Kamala Harris. Now, they'll only really be successful if it's a very, very tight election where it's a marginal victory for Trump. Then they can flip enough votes to bring in Kamala Harris. Last time, I mean, Pat said when he went to bed, Trump was in the lead. When he got up in the morning, Biden had won. They stopped the count last time. They actually stopped counting the votes, sent all the people who were supervising the vote home, and then brought in all these phony ballots and manipulated the election so that Biden won. It was an absolute disgrace. It was blatant. I mean, it's never been properly investigated because the judiciary was controlled by the Democrats. They talked about fortifying the 2020 election. The coalition the Democrats put together included the neocons. It included these globalist Zionists who hated Trump and tried to manipulate Trump. It included the whole of the media establishment, the legacy media establishment. It included then the people who control Twitter and the social media. So Trump couldn't get his counter message out, and they were able to steal the election. I posted at the time, this is the crime of the century, the way they stole that election. 3 days later, Trump referred to it as the crime of the century. And I wonder whether, I mean, that expression, I got round him. But Trump is still sore about that. And he still feels aggrieved about it. I think that's what's really motivated revenge. Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. Revenge is very important to when someone's being wronged. And Trump wants revenge. But don't forget, you talked about the January the 6th before, which was another Fed psyop. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of American men and women in prison at this moment because of January the 6th. They're being held in disgraceful conditions. A lot of them are in solitary confinement. A lot of them haven't even had a trial yet. So they're dependent on Trump winning. That's another reason why we've got to pray for a Trump victory. And we're seeing the same thing in this country now with Keir Starmer. He's locking up dissenters. He's putting people in prison just for expressing opinions. I mean, Joe Rogan and Elon Musk have just talked about this in their last interview. They said in Britain, it's gone crazy. They put thousands of people away for expressing opinions on Facebook. It's unacceptable. If Trump gets elected, he'll put Starmer in his place. This communist dictatorship that Starmer is trying to set up in Britain, Trump will put a spike right in the wheel and he'll stop it because America has that power. Now, we need Trump in this country. I mean, we've just seen Starmer's budget, a war on farmers, a war on pensioners. He's ripping the soul out of Britain. He's now going to give quick asylum to Iranians, Syrians, Afghanis. It's like if you're an enemy of Britain, turn up because you'll get asylum straight away. Keir Starmer is a real danger to the life and peace of this nation. And I think Trump recognizes that. Farage is over there. Farage he's already spoken to Farage about this. But there's other people who have told him, look, Britain needs you to step in. We need you to pull back Keir Starmer because he's got far too much power, far much to control, and he's using it to damage this country the way Biden and Harris have damaged America. We all know that Biden hasn't been in charge for 4 years. The people in his cabinet were globalist Zionist neocons who've dragged America through the dirt and thrown America into the gutter. This is the hope of redemption. And we've got to win it. And I hope to God, I pray to God that we succeed. But it's still a battle. And I'm going to be watching the results. I mean, in my heart, I feel that he will do it. Because he's come so far, Trump. And he's created such momentum behind his campaign. And it was a joyous campaign. It was a celebration of American democracy. It was a celebration of the American people and their freedom and their refusal to buckle down and to surrender to these domineering elitists, you know. The American people have shown an inner strength here, which is totally admirable. And we need to take that on board. And I believe Trump could trigger a patriotic revival in Britain. He is the trigger. He's the catalyst to ignite the real patriots in Britain. And we stand ready to fight that battle, the National Housing Party. We need organizations which can organize patriots. I mean, Reform are now effectively the only opposition in Parliament because the Tory party has become a woke joke. Trump is not going to be able to deal with the Tory party. They're a joke now. They're beyond the pale. Well, I mean, the forces to the right of the Tory party, the patriotic forces, hopefully will get a real boost when Trump wins. Marcus, what do you think?
Yeah, one thing that I want to go back to, you know, what I learned in the last election is I didn't realize that these people could actually vote. That's something new that I learned in that election. But other than that, I do generally think a Trump victory would be good for us in Reform. I mean, we are looking to America. I think all of us see America as a bigger version of Britain, right? And I think we could all agree to that. Now, I think when it comes down to it, it's very difficult to say what's going to happen, but I truly hope and I do believe they are going to get in. I mean, I've heard a lot of things from two of my ex-girlfriends from the state saying they're already rigging the election, and that currently worries me at this moment in time. But he's came through a lot so far, so possibly he might be able to do it. That's what I would say, you know. I just really hope that he is able to win this election. And I do think he would be able to put the world straight again. I believe he would be able to fix a lot of the problems. It's difficult because will the left stop him like they did last time? They gave him so much grief on trying to build the wall, didn't they? So he only got a little fraction of the wall built. But maybe this time he'll come back with a vengeance, like you said, and he will do all the things because he's learned and he wants to, you know, have payback on all the people who screwed him over in the last election. So that's what I would say. If you wanted to go, mate.
Yeah. So it's very interesting times, and like a few people have touched on, you know, the January the 6th in America, jailing all those people, the Southport disturbances here, the extreme prison sentence they were given is a sign of desperation of the establishment. They know their time has come to an end. They are panicking because the people are rising up, and they know their days are numbered. So I know it's sad that those people have been put in prison for all this time, but on the long run, it's a good sign, in my opinion, because you know you know, and they're going to go down as heroes in history. You know, we're going to look back, and I've said this to a few people. In the next 3 years, I don't know when it's going to happen, but one day we're going to wake up and there's just going to be a patriotic nationalist government in place. That's what's going to happen. And we don't know who it's going to be yet. You know, it could be Reform. You know, it's unlikely to be National Housing Party, but we are a Christian party and miracles do happen. Jesus is looking over us. And, you know, there's other parties around who we work closely with, Populist Party, British Democrats. And this is what I wanted to mention. You know, Donald Trump is on the world stage. Our party concentrates on local elections. We've got candidates all around the country. We've got hopeful candidates in Cornwall, in Brighton, in Rochester, in Kent. We've got a number in London. We've got one in Bedford. We've got one in a Wirral. You know, and we've got other people interested as well. So I was out door knocking last night. This is what it's all about. If you want to win local elections, go door knocking. It's so easy to get the people on your side. They hate Labour. They hate the Tories. and then they've got no time for the Liberal Democrats. So, and what I would say is in the inner cities in particular, it's going to be easy to win, because these areas like where I am in central London, even Reform won't really channel a lot of resources into these areas because they just think it's their Labour strongholds. And I was of that opinion as well until I stood in the election myself, and the response I got from the public was just unbelievable. So, you know, step forward, stop moaning, join a party, preferably the National Housing Party. You know, stand up for your nation, stand up for Christ, whatever you believe in, stand up and make a stand. We don't have to dodge bullets and hand grenades like our forefathers had to. So, you know, it's £22 a year to join. Just even by joining is going to help our party. It motivates other members. We've had three people join. Stuart Boniface has just joined. Lee Bishop has just joined. So, you know, we're getting people coming on board. We've got a really good team now. We're slowly growing. Pete Lawrence in Cornwall is going to be an incredible candidate. Just had some news. One of my close friends in the British Democrats is moving down to an area where we've got a candidate, and we're probably going to be working closely with them. Because at the end of the day, you know, we can do this. We're a few years behind because of Brexit. That's all it is. You know, in France, the National Rally are literally in power, and the National Rally were like the BNP years ago. That's how much they were vilified, and they are now in power. BNP could have done that. They'd modernised sufficiently, and unfortunately they're no longer. And we've got the National Housing Party, a few other parties. You know, Reform, I think they've blown it. You know, they've caused a big division. You know, with the you know that march the other day, and a lot of the people on that march are not happy with Reform now because they've realised Reform are part of the establishment. Simple as that. So sorry, I forgot somebody's.
Hang on, let me just say something here, Marcus. Let me just say this.
Sorry, I forgot about you, Marcus.
In the past, politics was very much set in stone. There were two major parties, Tory Labour, in Germany, Social Democrats, Christian Democrats, in France, Socialists, Gaulists. And this was the same throughout Europe and America. Now, politics, it's like sand dunes. It blows rapidly all over the place. Now, you're talking about Reform. Reform have just beaten Labour in a Wolverhampton by-election, a local election, where they overturned a nearly 60% Labour vote. It's an incredible. Labour's vote is actually disintegrating because everyone can see what a real horrendous government they are.
Just say one more thing. So I take my hat off anyone like Marcus who actually stands in elections, even if it is for Reform, right? And that's the honest truth. But the wider picture, I'm not a fan of Reform.
No, that's completely fine. That's completely fine.
And I would rather Reform win than Labour. Let's have that right. So,
yeah, no, that's absolutely
the Overton window.
Yeah.
Go on, Marcus.
So all I would say is this, right? So I'm going to say my personal opinion. I've made it clear on my YouTube channel, and a lot of people watch that. I'm not a big fan of what Richard Toye said. Personally, myself, I think it was very stuck up and elitist. I've even told my branch manager that. I'm not shy about saying my opinion. Some people in Reform would probably tell me not to come on this show with these fine people, but I do it anyway because I'm my own person and I stand by what I believe. Now, I do think Reform is the future, and I do believe nationalism is the future, right? Nationalism is the
Christian nationalism.
Yeah, Christian nationalism, right? It's just the natural order of things, right? No great nation ever became great because, you know, they started flying LGBT flags, they started hugging each other, and the men started crying and everything, cutting their bits off, pretending to be Cinderella and all the rest of it, letting unlimited people, what people would claim as an invasion years ago is normal immigration by their standards, right? This is not holy, this is not normal, right? So I do believe whether it's Reform, and personally, I'll make this clear, if I wasn't in Reform, I would be in this party, by the way. All three of these people know it personally, but I have gone with Reform for personal reasons. But I do think this is a great patriotic party. I do think Reform is somewhat the future, I hope, and they have to keep to their word. If not, I will not stand by reform. But at this moment in time, I'm hoping they will stand to their word. To talk about the BNP, I don't know enough about the BNP. Obviously, only being 25, I wasn't around when that was a popular thing. Well, I was, but I was way too young to know anything about the BNP. But when it comes to reform, what I would say is this: we're better than Labour. We're not probably everyone's cup of tea, but we have to push the Overton window. And even what I would say to people, if you are annoyed at reform at this moment in time, don't do what the Tommy Robinsons of the world are currently saying, because they done this years ago within UKIP. They tried to stand up against reform when it was the Brexit Party. The vote didn't go anywhere. Jared Batten destroyed his career. And afterwards, Reform was the only party, patriotic party in the European Parliament. So you're wasting your vote there. Now, when we get a different system in place, when we have first past the post, get rid of first past the post, and we have a proportional representation system, maybe a great party like this will take off. But at this moment in time, we have to be realistic about our enemies controlling the narrative, controlling the media, controlling the electoral system. But I truly do believe that we're not going to lose against a load of freaks who call themselves non-binary and, are Satanists and call themselves Cinderfella, and if you don't, they have a spaz attack on the floor and everything like that. I truly believe that Christ is King. He will guide us in this and he will lead us to victory. I truly do believe. And please vote for this party, by the way. I really care about this party. I think all these gentlemen are great people. And I do think, I do hope one day that they get MPs in the Houses of Parliament, even as a reform member. So anyway,
I better hit the news just getting on. Cancel me, I'm telling you. Honestly, I could, and there's a lot of routes I can go down, but thank you, Angie. Just checking the TikTok's running. The TikTok live is running okay, and she said, yeah. So I've had a few views on there. I'm going to start running to TikTok a bit more regular. But come on, the Trump. That's what we want. Come on, the Donald. Donald all the way, I tell you. And in England, need to vote different, guys. We've explained this. Voting for different people is good, whether it's Reform, whether it's a Workers' Party, whether anything. Labour have absolutely been decimated in their votes. Angela Rayner, Deborah Abrams, Jim McMahon, all got in with lower majorities, the lowest majorities they've ever got in. And next general election, there's going to be change in Oldham. There's going to be change in Oldham and Manchester. These by-elections popping up now, it's just a perfect thing for Reform to get in there on a by-election and get their candidates in and stuff like that. I'm hoping that Gorgeous George gets into some by-elections wherever he's running, just to make that difference, to get the vote percentage different. And like I said, the Tories and Labour have absolutely been decimated. This is the worst they've ever been. I don't remember Labour having this less people voting for him. I don't remember it. I really don't. And
I think Labour, John, are going to go to 25% of the opinion polls, and the Tories under it. I mean, they've both been exposed as complete imposters. The Tories are just globalists. They're not the Tory party of Enoch Powell and Margaret Thatcher, Winston Churchill. They're a party. They're just a liberal party. They're a liberal globalist party who don't care about Britain. And I think the Labour Party, we all know, is just rancid. It's just, it's a den of thieves. And the Labour Party got in through default. Sunak was bad enough, but this next one, Kemi, is going to be even worse. What we need is new voices. Now, obviously, Nigel Farage can make things happen. He doesn't say everything you want him to say, but he can really change the political landscape. And he's done it 3 times now, with UKIP, with Brexit, and now with Reform. They got 4.5 million votes. So they've already shaken the political system right to the core. And now they're rocking all over the country. Now, we are here to pull Reform to the nationalist agenda. We want to see no more permanent settlement immigration. We want to see a total end to refugees entering Britain. We want to see a revival of the national spirit in this country. We want to see Christian morality ruling in this land again, and not this horrific woke agenda which is destroying our country. We want the immigration flood to end. We want Britain now to revive itself. Now, Reform won't say that because they're still conforming to a mainstream agenda. They don't believe they can say that yet. But we do have a platform called X, which allows us to express a lot of our agenda. And Trump is going to drag that platform our way. And that's really important in the future. But there's going to be massive battles ahead, because it's not only politics where the problem is, it's economics. America has a $40 trillion debt, which is costing more and more money to service. America has a huge problem with a massive state bureaucracy, which is eating away at its wealth. America is losing its position in the world. It's in decline. Trump has got a heck of a battle to cut that debt and to reduce that bureaucracy. And he'll face enormous opposition from the unions and from the entrenched interests to stop him doing that. But in this country, we've got a huge mountain of debt. This is why Labour's already putting the tax up. There's no room for manoeuvre. They can't offer goodies to anyone. They can't buy votes anymore because there's no money. Every time, if this government tries to borrow money, the cost of borrowing has gone through the roof, and they just can't afford it. And therefore, they're already trying to reward, their sectional interests, like the public sector unions, and increasing all the pay in the public sector. That cost an absolute fortune. We haven't got the money to finance it. They're offering huge amounts of money to promote the climate change agenda, billions. We haven't got the money. They've got to raise taxes to finance it. Labour have already committed billions to this insane Ukraine war. I mean, and America has set, of course, even more. But we cannot afford it. So this has put an enormous pressure on the British economy. We're seeing the cost of living is continuing to rise. People can't get houses. We're being deprived. The British people are being deprived of basic services. They can't even get on the housing list now. And yet the Labour government is considering bringing more and more immigrants in. They told us these stop boats. We knew it was a lie. The boats are exploding. They're encouraging more refugees to come into Britain. But we can't afford it. There's an economic crash ahead. This is what Trump could well face. And this is going to be a real test. But it's going to undermine even further this Labour government. The question with this Labour government is, once the divisions and the cracks start to appear, can it survive? Now, the place of Reform is they are their only real voice in Parliament now to expose this Labour Party. And, there's going to be big political ruptures ahead. Pat's always been ahead in this game. He's always seen the fact that not only was the Tory government going to collapse, but Labour's going to collapse as well. Everything is in free fall, and we need new forces emerging. That's what we represent, the new force in British politics. Pat?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned something earlier, and I think you're right in, if Trump wins, he's going to directly attack Keir Starmer, which is going to erupt the right wing in the UK. It's going to be spectacular, and it's going to motivate people, and it's going to be on fire. Politics is going to be on fire. If he gets in power, it's going to be amazing. But one thing I'd just like to say to Marcus, because I go knocking on doors all the time, and what I found out by knocking on doors is that there's millions of working class people around the UK who are not even allowed to go on the social housing waiting list. And I can't believe that Farage and Reform have not cottoned on to this, because it's just a no-brainer that you say, look, we don't want no more refugees. We've got millions not even allowed on the waiting list. Right? We've got 1.3 million on the waiting list, who some of them have been waiting 10, 15 years. And I found out some information in my local ward that Camden Council had 25,000 people on the social housing waiting list in 2015. And they removed everyone off the list and made them all apply again. and only let 7,000 back on. So you can imagine how bad the crisis is. It's all over the country. Yeah. And in the mayoral election, Sadiq Khan's one of his pledges was, I'm going to build 40,000 council houses. Well, what about all the thousands of people in Camden, working class people? They're not even allowed to apply to be on the waiting list for those 40,000. So they're getting away with it, and we need to spread the word. So I just thought I'd let you know that, Marcus.
No, 100%. By the way, everybody, I'm not going to defend every single decision Reform makes, because obviously I am a Reform member. I am standing for Reform, but there's also things with Reform I have even said publicly that I don't agree with. I think they need to be tougher. And I think it's such a good parties like this to keep Reform to being right-wing, right? I personally believe in mass deportations, for example. I don't think that was a good thing. Nigel Farage said that, and I've even said that to my branch. And I'm going to say, if they have a problem with it, they have a problem with it. But for me, personally, I'm trying to serve the people that I'm trying to get elected by, if you get what I mean. So personally myself, I think we need parties like this to hold Reform to account, because the Conservative
pressure group,
and if they don't, I'll come and join you personally, and I'll join you on your crusade against the establishment. But at this moment in time, I think Reform is talking a good game. I don't think it's perfect. Obviously, we are a new party. We are kind of finding our feet a little bit, not trying to make excuses, but it is a bit difficult. We're becoming more and more democratic, and as we become more and more democratic, hopefully the more right-wing patriotic people will float to the top of the party, and that's what I hope. But I'm not gonna. I just want to say that I'm not saying anyone who criticised Reform UK is wrong, because there's things I don't agree with, and like Patrick said, that's a very important thing. I did not know about it. Now I do know, and I'm going to make a video about it because I know about it.
Good on you.
Yeah.
I want to ask everyone a question. What time are you going to bed tonight?
I've got a few mates saying they're going to stay up all night, but I said, you're not going to get the result until at least 8, 9, 10 in the morning. So
that's
I don't know.
Well, you can't trust the polls. Every channel is a bit different. I haven't found one that is not biased. It's either all blue on the things are saying and all red on. It's just I just can't get it. I really can't. But thank you everyone for joining. A lot of people on YouTube. If you haven't subscribed before, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, please, guys. I just want to give a big shout out to Official Welsh Woman. I met her at a demo in Trowbridge, and she's got a channel as well, does little videos. If you'd like to give her a follow, great girl. Great girl. Give me some good hints and tips for my mum, actually. So that's another thing. But thank you very much, guys. Like Pat said, join the party. We've got a link at the bottom for donations. I have put the party link in the chat, and I will do it again now to our webpage.
Can I just plug the Christmas social in London? Anyone in the South East, contact us. It's a great way to meet nationalists in London. We're Christian nationalists. You don't have to be Christian to join the party, but we are promoting Christianity. So, get in contact. It would be great to meet people we haven't met before. And, you can come and ask us all sorts of questions as well about standing in local elections, which is the most important thing. That's what the party's all about. And, so I'm looking forward to that. That's on the 7th of December. And contact us for meeting details. Thank you.
What I just want to say before you finish is that in America, when the polls close, the big TV networks, they then publish their exit polls, which tend to be almost always right, a bit like in Britain. And then they call each state. So although the final count will be hours and hours and hours away, we should know very early who's likely to win. I mean, last time it was obviously Trump, and Trump declared himself the victor. So then they stopped the count. Will they be able to stop the count this time? Will they be able to manipulate the vote this time? We'll have to see. But last time, Fox called Arizona for Biden very early, And that was really damaging to Trump. Now, be interested to see what the early calls are this time. Look out for that. But come on, Donald. Our prayers are with you, brother.
Thank you very much, Paul. Thank you, everyone in the chat and that. Like I said, please subscribe to our channel you haven't already subscribed to. You can follow us and check our description out. All our social media links are there. We want to try and plug these now. We are also live on Rumble, DLive, and VK, as well as YouTube, X, and Facebook. But thank you very much. Thank you, panel, tonight. It's definitely looking like it's going to be a Donald win. That's what I think, and I think that'll send shockwaves across the world, good and bad, but for the better. That's what I think. And yes, Pat is very negative on reform, but again, the thing is, we need people to vote differently. If people are voting for reform, fair enough. If they're voting for Workers' Party, fair enough. They'll soon change the vote if they have to. Reform have made a big boo-boo. They're going to lose supporters now through what Richard Tice said about Tommy. They're going to lose them. It's simple as. And I know plenty of reform people who support Tommy, but are voting for reform. Now, they're not going to be voting for reform now. Hopefully, they might come to our side or anything, because I'm not going to denounce anybody who speaks out or anything like that. Not my favourite person, but what I can say is a lot of the stuff that Tommy Robinson does, I've done myself. So that should tell you enough.
So you've been to Israel and climbed on an IDF tank?
I haven't climbed in Israel, but I've never said anything about Israel. Talked about UK things here, court cases, talking to survivors and victims.
Tommy was supposed to be fighting for freedom, and he's pleaded guilty, man. He got all the donations in. Where's the court case?
Listen, and going after perpetrators. So I do a lot of the same things that he does. So that's all.
I don't talk negatively about reform. I talk the truth about reform.
But anyway, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for the live. Thank you. We've had a lot of people in the chat I haven't seen before. So thank you. But please,
thanks, everyone. Cheers, Marcus. Thanks for coming on. Cheers,
John. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Good night, everyone. Good night.
Good night. Thank you for that, John. That was a good stream.